Okay, back. This is gonna be an MMA video. It's been ages since I've done one, and since then, so much has gone on. It's just been ridiculous. First thing I want to talk about, actually, Josh Barnett has signed with Dream in Japan, which is good news for him. I am a big fan of Josh Barnett, and I've always believed he was a top 10 heavyweight, and probably had the potential to give Fedor his greatest challenge. However, we all know how that went when Affliction promoted their trilogy card, Barnett applying for a license, failing the random drug test, which was an absolute disappointment for a fan. And Barnett has kind of kept a low profile since. I mean, I think he's done some grappling tournaments since then, and he was allegedly going to fight in the new year, but on New Year's Eve, something like that. I think it was a New Year's Eve show, and that fell through somehow. So he's going to be fighting for Dream. For him, this is a good thing. He needs to get himself back out there fighting, and I can see him probably facing Tim Sylvia actually in Dream of all people. I think that looks like who he's going to fight. They've not announced an opponent. I think it's going to be March 22nd when he's fighting. So who knows who he's going to be facing off against. Um, it's a surprise he didn't sign with Strikeforce, but I think with all the legal issues and trying to get this license sorted out, he needs something in the meantime. So he's signing a fight deal with Dream Entertainment. Was probably the only other option for him because I don't really see the UFC touching him right now, unfortunately, because they might see him as a liability, giving his suspensions. All in all, I hope this is a good thing. Hopefully, this can be the kind of shot in the arm his career needs right now. Not saying he's lost fights, but I mean, given what happened with him last year, I mean, he's really kind of gone down. The other thing I want to talk about, James Toney in the UFC. Now, this has been going on for months now. James Toney, famous boxer, heavyweight boxer, been talking about wanting to fight in the UFC and appearing at press conferences and things like that. And they even had a meeting, and apparently he didn't agree to the terms right away. I, I need to check that one out again. And it's set up on YouTube. Actually, you can actually find the conversation between him and Dana White. He's now officially signed with the UFC. I don't know who his first fight's going to be against. That will be interesting. I don't see them giving him a top level heavyweight right now because if it's boxing for boxing, clearly he's going to knock someone out. He's a trained boxer, but in MMA, when you take him off of his comfort zone and put him on his back, that's a whole new thing to get used to. I think his first fight will probably end up being Kimbo Slice of all people, which would be quite interesting. I don't think that's going to be the most artistic fight we're going to see, but I think in terms of drawing money and getting attention, it's going to be a success in that respect. Allegedly, Randy Couture threw his name in the hat and said he'd fight James Toney, which would be quite interesting, but that is a win. I don't know. Given the fact that Couture, it looks like he's on the path to a title fight soon, I don't think that's a good fight for him. Um, so yeah, it looks like he'll probably end up fighting Kimbo Slice or maybe Hardonk. I'm not sure who they'll give him yet. What do I think will happen? I think this is more of a publicity thing, and that's why they're doing it. Dana can harp on and on about, oh, Herschel Walker in Strikeforce is ridiculous. I think this is one could argue it's equally ridiculous, and maybe to an extent it isn't. I kind of look forward to seeing what happens with James Toney there and who he fights and what weight class he fights in. Because some people say he'll just have catchweight fights. He won't really fight as a heavyweight. So who knows what's going to happen there. Um, the other thing I want to talk about, the WEC show that was this weekend, they announced Uriah Faber will be fighting Jose Aldo for the featherweight title. That's going to be a very big fight. I think this is going to be a fight that raises Aldo's stock even more. A lot of people, when you talk about pound for pound best fighters, a lot of people are saying Jose Aldo being a pound for pound best guy in his weight class. I was so impressed with him when he fought Mike Brown, and Brown couldn't get him for a takedown. He stopped every takedown that he made and then just beat him in the way he did was just incredible. I don't know how Faber matches up with him. That will be interesting. I think Aldo can beat Faber. I really think he can. If Faber can get him down, then that's interesting too. But even then, Aldo's got some jiu-jitsu, so that's dangerous when you put a guy like him on his back. But still, that's going to be a very interesting fight. I don't know what the other fights for the card will be just yet, but I'll be intrigued. Another thing that was quite noteworthy from the weekend was Jens Pulver's recent fight. Uh, for those of you who haven't studied the career of Jens Pulver was a UFC 155 pounder. Had quite a good career early in his career. Had a victory over BJ Penn. He's beaten Joe Stevenson too, but he had a victory over BJ Penn, which was quite a big thing. And I think that was his first lightweight title defense. And he was quite a name from the early UFC days. And he went to Pride as well, and came back into the UFC, I think, around 05, 06, and did the Ultimate Fighter with Penn and lost. Then went back down to featherweight, fought Faber and had that big fight. That was quite a big deal back then, which was 5 rounds. But it's been clear for a while that Pulver is not in his prime anymore, and with these new guys coming up, guys like Faber, or who are in his division, and Mike Brown and Jose Aldo, and all these people that are just up there, Garcia as well, it just looks like Pulver is going to be outmatched by most of them. He's not in his prime anymore, and it's catching up with him. It was sad though watching that fight in a lot of ways because I think there's a lot of people who like Pulver, and seeing him lose was a sad thing. And then the speech afterwards was really kind of heartfelt, and I got told that there was a lot of people who had kind of tears in their eyes because Pulver is a really nice guy and he always comes across as very likable in everything that he does. So will he be retiring? It looks like it, considering he said, "I don't want to put you through this anymore." That kind of hinted that he might be retiring. I'm not sure. We're still going to wait for an official announcement on that. But I mean, I wish him all the best with whatever he does. The last thing I'm going to talk about is this week. It's going to be UFC Prime Time, I think, on Wednesday. Dan Hardy GSP. This is going to be very interesting. This is the MMA equivalent to the HBO boxing specials that we used to get and will still get. We had the first one last year with BJ Penn and George St. Pierre. Interesting note, actually, the prime time was supposed to go to Brock Lesnar and Randy Couture, and then they changed it over and gave it to Penn and St. Pierre. Very interesting. It definitely sold the fight, I felt, very well, and it's a very good promotional tool to sell fights. Um, I think this is more of an opportunity for fans to get to know Dan Hardy. I think Dan is going to have to make the most of this opportunity and talk the fight up. He does a good job of that anyways, and I think he's going to do that on the prime time, and he's going to help build up some anticipation for the fight. This is probably his biggest shot, I think, to achieve superstardom as well as become a world champion. So he's going to have to make the most of it, and I can imagine he's going to talk up, the fight and kind of play the bad guy in this, which is going to be quite interesting. And that should be very interesting because that's going to build up their March 27th card, which is a very, very big card in itself. So I think for MMA, that's all I really wanted to talk about. I've got quite a few things I want to do MMA related and wrestling related, so stay tuned and have a good one. And guys, let me know what you think about everything I've just said. Leave some comments, leave some feedback, and anyone just stumbling upon this, please subscribe. I'm not joking. Have a good one. Bye.